This is the Stop Playing podcast with Sham and Shaka. I'm Sham.
I'm Shaka. This is episode 30, Sham.
Yeah, 30 episodes in. Can you believe it?
I cannot. This is awesome.
I haven't run away from you kicking and screaming yet.
30 for 30. No, you haven't. No, you haven't. I'm working on that though. Maybe before we get to 60.
I get closer and closer every week.
Correct. Yeah.
So,
but how you doing?
I'm doing all right. You know, we're doing another I guess Zoom edition. We're trying this again.
Yeah, we called it Zoom Skypecast when it was Skype, so Zoomcast.
Yeah, we Zoomcasting now because we're in different places yet again. But hopefully episode 31 will be back in our little homemade studio.
Oh, we definitely will. There's a long weekend and we're potentially going to do a few things together in the same spot. So podcasting will be one of them if we don't even get to do some of the other stuff.
Oh, yes. We have to make the podcast and our listeners a priority.
Correct. So there you go.
Yeah, I haven't had a Starbucks story in a while.
No, you haven't.
No, I haven't. And
are you on the board yet?
I'm not on the board. They need me though. They do need me.
Go ahead.
But first, let me just circle back, because when I was in LA, and as the listeners know, and you know, I went to LA a couple times this year for work. Yeah. There was a Starbucks in the hotel that I stayed in. Every morning I got up, I went down there. They knew my name, knew my drink before I even had to open my mouth. Wow. And it was wonderful. They didn't know me from a can of paint, but those 3 weeks total that I was in LA, they knew my drink and knew my name and knew my face and everything.
So as you walked in, they wrote your name on the cup?
They knew. Shocked the heck out of them when I changed my drink. But, you know, sometimes you got to keep them on their toes.
Oh, gosh. All right.
So I come back to Maryland and I'm thinking to myself, you know, I go to the same Starbucks every morning, have been coming to the Starbucks Monday through Friday every day for the longest. Do you know them clowns look at me like they don't know me when I walk in there? That is crazy. But anyway, that has nothing to do with what happened to me yesterday. Yesterday was Easter. Happy Easter, folks.
Yes.
On my way to brunch, which we have talked about in great detail on this show, how much we love brunch. Yes. I stopped at a Starbucks, but as I was driving on the highway, and do not do this, children. We don't want you driving and using your phone. I was ordering my drink, which is very simple because I order the same thing every day. So it's just like boom, boom, bam, and your drink is sent to the Starbucks location.
Okay.
So I walk in there and, you know, people just standing around waiting. Everybody's like, where's my drink? Where's my drink? You know, I'm thinking the same thing. Like, I ordered mine when I was on the highway, so it should full well be ready by the time I walk in here. So after I waited about a few minutes, I said to them, I was like, I ordered my drink when I was on Route 97. Like, where's my beverage? So the manager, I'm assuming that's who she was because she seemed to be directing orders earlier, previous to that point. She goes, what did you order? I said, tall latte, iced latte. She's like, it's right here. Shaka, when I say I looked at that drink, it looked like a cup of milk. I was like, there's no way that this is a latte. She says, yeah, latte only gets one pump of this. And then homeboy, black dude with glasses who was on the other side of the store, promptly runs over to cosign and says, yeah, that's how lattes are made. You only get this much. And then you put, thank you. I looked at
who he was talking to.
Would you not look? I looked at her. I looked at him. I said, what you're not going to do is sit here and tell me how a latte is made. I get this drink Monday through Friday every day. This is not a latte. This is a cup of milk. And I said, somebody needs to remake this. A third person who looked like the sweetest person in the world. And she looked at me like she knew good and well that drink that was sitting there for me was not made properly. She looked at me with the sweetest face and she smiled. She said, oh, don't worry, ma'am. I'm already remaking it for you. So, meanwhile,
okay, keep going.
Clucker 1 and Clucker 2 are standing there looking like, oh. But I had peeped the manager's game. She was a blonde-haired chick, and the way she was like kind of dealing with other people had turned me off in the first place before I even had interacted with her. Her interactions with other people, I was just kind of like, ooh, she must not be having a good morning type. You know what I mean? You know how sometimes you see people and you be like, oh, this ain't the job for them, or maybe they shouldn't have gotten up today. That's how she was moving initially.
And you kind of like, I hope I don't have to deal with that person.
Right. So I kind of knew once I said, why isn't my drink done yet? That I was going to get some of that agita. So
that's a Sopranos word, y'all. Nice.
So when she hit me with the, oh, your drink's been ready, it's sitting right here, and it looked like a cup of milk, I already knew it was going to be some negativity happening. But I will say this, the girl that jumped in and remade my drink, she also gave me a customer service card, said, here's a card for you. So next time you come in, your drink is free. And I rolled out, and it made it a better experience. But you know what I'm about to say now. Homeboy from all the way down there that jumped in. God, you know, there's nothing more that I dislike than a house Negro.
Wow.
Because that's how he came at me at. Like, you know what I mean? Like, when I walked in, never said hello to me, never greeted me, was basically off to the side doing his thing with everybody. Then as soon as she came through and was like, no, this is how it's made. He scurried down there and co-signed with her. Like it meant the world to him to co-sign with her. Like his job depended on it. Oh no, ma'am, that is how we make them. Weren't you just down there like folding some towels or something? Like you just had to interject yourself right now. But look.
And you've said this in the past real quick. What's the one thing we like about Black people? They mind their own business.
They mind their own business.
The ones who don't are going against the code. That was none of that man's business.
None. He went far against the code. Then you're going to come down and co-sign on something that is completely wrong. And then talk to me like I ain't never been to a Starbucks before.
Incorrect co-signing. Also, co-signing in general is risky. You better be on solid footing, and you better have a good reason if you co-sign on something. And when you in the wrong, yeah, you know what? You are almost as guilty, if not more, than the person you're co-signing on.
Exactly. So big ups to the girl that fixed the situation and was very, very kind and helped the sister out. Because after that, I wished her a happy Easter, and then I rolled out with my properly made latte.
I'm glad you got your latte. You know what's sad about that? That girl should be the manager of that location.
Probably.
And if they don't, and if the regional manager or whoever doesn't manage that situation properly, she probably deals with that kind of nonsense constantly. And she probably has to clean it up constantly. And if they don't make that girl that manager, she will quit. And she should.
Yeah, she should.
And that's how jobs lose good people. Because
all the time.
The ignorant people are the squeaky wheels that the higher ups think keep the situation going. And people like her who kind of just slide into the situation like the adult and say, all right, you know what, I'm going to fix this. They're not squeaky wheels. Now, good for her for giving you that card. Like, hey, man, you need to tell somebody about me because I need to be manager around here. I mean, I'm not trying to put thoughts in that young lady's head, but I hope that something about some thought process along those lines prompted her to give you that card in addition to your satisfaction. That's what I hope.
Yeah, I mean, look, the problem was resolved. I just didn't like the avenue that I had to take to get to it. Like, come on, you know this looks like a cup of milk. There's no coffee in here. Like, stop it. But, you know, right after that, I went to brunch and proceeded to drink several mimosas, and my day got better.
All your problems were forgotten. The beauty of mimosas.
Every time.
Every time. Well, that's a good story on our 30th. Yeah, I mean, I didn't have a headline story, so a follow-up story, I think that rounded this out quite nicely.
But we do have another story that doesn't round out so nicely.
No.
And this is from your neck of the woods.
Yes. This is a story about gentrification, guys. And listen, gentrification is, a lot of people think it's a simple subject. It isn't. It's a nuanced subject. And I want all our listeners to understand, because we have listeners for what we see, Sam, we have listeners worldwide, apparently.
Yeah, we do. We hitting them all over the place.
We hitting them all over the place.
Shout out to the listeners in the Ukraine who have listened to 12 episodes this week. Thank you so much.
Good gracious. Yeah. Whatever y'all doing over there, hey, stop playing in the cold. But I'll find out the words for stop playing in Russian and shout out to y'all. But no, but in all seriousness, gentrification is the subject in which, it kind of involves all kind of ethnic groups, because really that's what it's about. It's about, people moving into neighborhoods and changing them and things of that nature. And that's what this story is about. And these stories, they're two stories. Both of them in my neck of the woods are about. Basically, let's start with the T-Mobile story. There's this corner on Georgia Avenue and Florida Avenue in Northwest DC, okay? All of this is around Howard University. All our DMV members, especially the ones in DC, know exactly what I'm talking about. Most of you not from DC have heard of Ben's Chili Bowl and all that kind of stuff. All of that is in that corridor, like U Street, very near Howard, very strong Black history in that neighborhood. Now, more recent history is go-go music. That's homegrown music for DC, okay? There's a store on the corner. It's now owned by T-Mobile. It's a Boost Mobile store. But that store was known in general back when there were pagers and cell phones, or excuse me, pagers instead of cell phones. They would play go-go music on the corner. And they had already worked it out with the city. They didn't violate any noise ordinances. They kept the decibel level at the legal limit. And people would enjoy walking by that store during business hours and hearing go-go music. This is years, okay, since I was a kid. And I think we've talked about how old I am on the show, so that should tell y'all something. Long story short, maybe 3 weeks ago, the neighborhood has changed. So now there are condos coming up in the area. The demographics have changed. There are a lot of young millennials, especially white people coming in. Most of them actually do appreciate the neighborhood and kind of, even though the neighborhood has changed and it has moved some people out, and that's the bad part of gentrification, the property values go up and they price people out. But most of I don't want to paint a picture here. I know a lot of people who moved in that neighborhood. And even though I don't like to see people get priced out, for the most part, I do see a lot of the millennials come in and they appreciate the neighborhood. And they like to go places in that neighborhood that have that history. Well, apparently one of these residents decided that the music was too loud, hit up T-Mobile, the corporate office, didn't even go to the store, wrote a letter or something. Sam, you should go to the letter writers meeting and get this straightened out, because this is my problem with letter writers right here. Wrote a letter to T-Mobile and basically was like, y'all need to tell that store to turn that music off. And the people from T-Mobile, not even checking anything at all, basically ordered that store to turn that music off and turn it down. That's ridiculous. They have no sense of history. They don't know anything about what's going on. They didn't check with the city to see if there was a noise ordinance. They get one complaint from one resident, and they're just going to go do what they want to do. So what did the people do? They organized a protest and played go-go music to the heights.
They had live music. They said, screw this. We bringing out actual instruments since you want to be a jerk.
The mayor has weighed in on this and is supporting the people and supporting go-go, because you do not move into a neighborhood that has history and then try to dictate to the residents of that neighborhood what that history should and shouldn't be. It's because you feel uncomfortable. You're supposed to know the neighborhood that you move into before you try to go and dictate rules in it.
What do I always say? Everything is researchable.
That's right. And everything's researchable, and what should damn well be researchable is, I'm about to move somewhere. I want to buy an apartment, or a condo. Maybe I should research the neighborhood I'm moving in instead of going in there and trying to dictate and change it. So that's story number one. Let's tie it into story number two. This one is more egregious.
Oh yeah, this one, not only is it egregious, it's stupid.
It's so stupid. That's why I had to save it. So that, and plus chronologically, the T-Mobile thing happened first.
It
So
did.
we're still burning over that. Howard University is roughly 150 years old. They celebrated their 150 year anniversary, I want to say 2 years ago.
Yeah, 1867. The only reason why I know this is because it was 1 year before Hampton University, and they
Hampton
don't let us live that down.
And I want to give you some kudos for not inserting, because you respect Howard enough, at least in this segment, to not insert something bad about Howard like you have done in the past. So thank you very much.
I wanted to, but I'm riding with them on this one because this is just so stupid.
So, long story short, again, Howard's campus is in the middle of DC, in the middle of this neighborhood. In my neighborhood, Columbia Heights, Petworth, not so far up as Petworth, but Shaw, and LaDroit Park, and Columbia Heights. All of that is Howard University. Matter of fact, I respect that campus so much, I would run and exercise around that campus. If something fell out of my pocket or something like a piece of trash, I would pick that up and be like, even though I grew up 2 or 3 blocks from that campus, I still consider myself a guest on that campus, no matter what I'm doing. And I'm Black. So these millennials, again, who have now moved into the neighborhood, are walking their dogs through the neighborhood, or through the campus, through the yard. There's a reservoir there. There's all kind of places where you can walk. But they're walking their dogs through the neighborhood, and then their dogs are basically pooping in the neighborhood. I'm trying to feel a little less graphic today, guys, because I'm already upset. And they're not cleaning it up, and they're leaving it there. First of all, you're not supposed to do that anywhere.
They do that in my neighborhood, and it burns me up because we got a dog park right across the street.
Yes. And you're supposed to have a bag behind the dog. I don't even own a pet. But like, what are you doing?
And the bags are posted along the neighborhood, so you ain't even got to grab your own. You just grab the bag when you walk past it.
And the worst part is there are dog parks around the yard, specifically for people to do this, and they choose still to walk through the yard and do this. So when people started making noise about this, and the students, and good for them, started being like, wait a minute, these people walking their dogs through our yard, through our campus, and just letting them just poop all over the place, and they're not going to clean it up. They started interviewing some of these millennials. And one of them said, and I quote, if they don't like what we're doing, they need to go ahead and move their campus. Are you serious?
Mm-hmm.
Move the campus.
The sad part about it was he was serious.
He was dead serious. You just moved here yesterday. Probably, no, let's call it 5 minutes ago. You just moved to this neighborhood 5 minutes ago. You are mad because people are calling out something wrong that you're doing with your stupid dog. And your solution is to uproot a 150 plus year campus and move it because you don't like what they're telling you to do about their property and their neighborhood. But yet, if somebody made noise 2 doors down from your condo, you'd be calling the cops on them. That's the thought process. We want to talk about entitlement. That's why people get mad about gentrification. That's the ugly part about gentrification. When you try to say, oh, well, it's good to have neighborhoods change and people move in and you have diversity and all that. Yeah, well, when people do not respect the history of the neighborhood, that's the problem. Right there on the spot. Honestly, that's all I have to say about that story.
Not only that,
it's a burner on me.
This is not just, this is just in life that I've noticed lately, and this is separate from this story, but obviously a part of it as well. When did people become this group of people that when they do something wrong, it's everybody else's fault but their own? So what you mean to tell me is your dog just shit on the damn ground and you mad because somebody else pointed that out to you and now they gotta go because they won't put up with your bullshit?
Right.
When did we become those people? Not you and I, but I'm seeing so much as a society lately. People don't want to be told or reprimanded for things that they are doing that are blatantly wrong. And then when you do it, they turn around and act like you're the problem. I don't get that.
It's literally everyone else's fault but yours.
All the time.
Social media, saying you see it all the time. Like zero accountability whatsoever. I've never, you know how you grow up and you're like, man, I'm starting to sound like my parents or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I guess so. Because at this point, it's like, so literally nothing's your fault. Like nothing. You can be completely at fault. You're the type of person Chris Darden would represent and be like, yeah, I shot that guy, but that was, his problem.
I was just having a bad day.
Yeah.
He shouldn't have said that to me.
He shouldn't have said that to me. So that's why I did that.
That's why I did it. Yeah.
Not guilty. Ridiculous. Yeah, and so it's just that's the type of story where it's like it's still unfolding. Both stories are still unfolding. There's like fighting going on in both cases, but I will say the popular sentiment, including amongst the politicians, is on the side of the people who are being oppressed, for lack of a better word, in both of these situations. Even the mayor herself, who I was having doubts about, has jumped out there and sided with, in the Howard case, the students, and in the T-Mobile case, the store owner and the residents. So that's good to see. So we'll see how that unfolds.
I would think that in the Howard case, it would be a done data. Like, what are we saying? This school has been here since 1867. It's a historical landmark.
Correct.
It's not moving. So sit your ass down and go clean up your dog shit.
Yeah, and by the way, again, take the campus out of it. You're not supposed to allow dogs to do that, no matter where you are.
Right.
So what are we talking about
You're
here?
supposed to get a fine anyway.
Correct. A hefty one. I'll be seeing those signs for fines on that. You know why? Because most of the time it's in their neighborhood because everybody has a dog. So they police that heavily.
Right.
Yeah. So that's ridiculous. That's crazy.
You just brought up a shooting, and I just wanted to slip some. You did. You use it as a metaphor. But I just want to slip this in very quickly because this is something that happened local to me. A young man, 22 years old, was shot to death last week in the stairwell of his apartment building. And the reason why this is important, obviously it's important because another person has passed away too soon. He was a young Black gentleman who had recently graduated from North Carolina A&T University. He was an engineer, actually moved up here because he got a really good job working for Northrop Grumman, I believe. But the reason why this is super important is because the guy that murdered him was a neighbor of his. And he had been harassing him prior to the shooting. This young man went to the court and asked for a protective order because of those previous harassments. He said that when he went to take out his trash back on February 16th, the guy who shot him said, "You knew this day was coming," and gave him a death gesture by sliding his thumb across his throat. He promptly called 911 and then asked that a protective order be given because of that. And the judge denied the request for a protective order. So on April 15th, he was killed by that same man. Now, again, why this is really important now is because the Commission on Judicial Disabilities in my state, Maryland, is asking for this judge to be removed.
Absolutely.
And what's crazy about this, and then this is the highest court of Maryland. This is the Court of Appeals. She's still serving in her capacity, but has been temporarily relocated to another court. My thing is, and I get it, there's this thing of burden of proof. They felt like he could not meet that burden with just basically what he was saying. I think if somebody tells you knew this day was coming and acts like they're slicing your neck is enough for me if I'm the judge, because I'm like, oh, people crazy. But yeah, they said that he didn't have the burden of proof. He did not meet the burden of proof.
I mean, what do you have to do to get
what do you have to do to get a protective order? Now, this young man who was literally just starting to live his life is gone.
Is this a long, detailed background? Because why was he harassing him?
That's something that hasn't been uncovered. I've been looking into it. And the reason why this is really important to me is because this is right up the street from me. This isn't just in my, I could walk to this place from where I am right now. And this has been this is maybe like the fifth shooting. There were 2 double homicides like within walking distance of me, and then this one. But this one to me just kind of, because in the other cases the people have been caught and things like that. Those were not things that there was a warning for. Those were just kind of those things that just happened. But this kid came to the court and said, "Yo, this dude is going to kill me."
Yeah, I mean, there's nothing really to say about that. You hear about that. What kind of is the wrinkle in this is you hear about that with women a lot, and it's unfortunate. You hear a woman either try to get one or get one, and then the guy still like turns around and kills her because the cops didn't take her seriously. This is a little unusual to see 2 men involved in something like this, but the result is the same. The cops, the authorities, they always tell you, don't take matters into your own hands. Come to the authorities. Well, this victim did everything properly and tried to do everything properly and ended up getting killed. I get it. The judge does need due process, but I'll put it like this. Why couldn't they put the judge on paid administrative leave at minimum so that she couldn't rule over other cases while this is being decided? I don't know the details if that's what you meant, but it sounds like she's still able to preside over cases. She's just been moved. I don't think that's appropriate if she's under this type of investigation. Other than that, I don't know enough information.
Well, this is still unfolding because it's still pretty recent. So I'm gonna keep you posted.
Please do. You have intrigued me. And I have a story when we go to our entertainment segment. It's more of an update. It's a funny one though. So I'm not even going to give you the teaser because it's an update that just came to my mind that I think you probably heard about this week.
Oh, you talking about the Ancestry.com ad?
Oh my God. Yes.
So they had pulled it by the time you told me about it.
Yeah,
but
I bet they did.
I did see some like still shots of it.
Yes.
And so, yeah, that was a little different. That was different.
May I?
Absolutely. It's all yours, bro.
So, listeners, as Sham said, this ad has been pulled. So I don't know if how many of you will have seen it or will have been able to see it, but I'm going to just lay it out right now. And this kind of ties back to, we talked about a political ad for French Hill and how just like, what were these people thinking and who was in the room to think this? In the French Hill case, it was a radio ad and it was a political action committee. So you already know they're kind of like out on left field. Okay. The bottom line is this. This is an Ancestry.com ad. What they're trying to get across, the point they're trying to get across is you never know who your ancestors are. So come to Ancestry.com because there could be some kind of intriguing story behind your genealogy. So the angle they chose to get this point across is this. There's a white man and a black woman clearly set in either colonial times or maybe pre-Civil War / Civil War era time, historical time. These people are running around. They're a couple. And the white man basically gets in a position of proposing to this black woman. And he says, take a chance with me. I forget the exact words, but take a chance with me. Come up north with me. And like, are you willing to like take a chance? So the angle of this commercial is this. This black woman is a slave.
Mm-hmm.
The white man is clearly, someone of means or whatever, a white man back then.
He's a slave master. Just say it.
Clearly. Well, this is where I was going with this. So he's either a slave master, even more importantly than that, could be her slave master, okay, for all we know. So what universe does this commercial live in and expect us to believe it lives in? Okay, so we're supposed to believe that either this woman's slave or another slave owner is coming to her and saying, hey, so let's run away together. I'm going to leave all my possessions, including probably my other slaves, in the South. I'm going to take you with me. And by the way, I'm going to propose as if you're going to say no, because I'm proposing to free you and run away with you to the North. And then I guess we're going to live in the North as a married couple. And no one's going to ask you questions, number one. And number two, this is a romanticized version of slavery where black women aren't raped. They just get courted by white men who want to take them out of slavery. This commercial, just like I said about First Hill, this commercial is wrong on so many levels. I couldn't even begin to tackle all the levels this commercial was wrong. The most wrong part about it is that it's a commercial in the first place, which means, by definition, a team of people sat in a room, cleared it, aired it, because every commercial that you guys see on TV, especially by a corporation, has to be screen tested by a group of people first, has to be approved by a board, has to be, in a smart company's case, screen tested to a group of consumers. Then they come back and see how the ad tested, and then they pay for the ad to go on TV. All of that has to happen for the ad to go on TV.
It's like Lonnie Love always says from The Real. She always says, "Where was Jerome when you needed him?" There always needs to be Jerome, the intern, or somebody in that room that says, "Nah, bruh, that ain't gonna roll."
Black Twitter, the hero, got a hold of this ad immediately before they could pull it. Started airing it, and all the Black Twitter just responded like, "Okay, we have a few questions. How many black? To your point, Sham. How many black people were in the room when this was even introduced? How many black people saw this? Who approved this? We want to talk to the black people, if there were any, who saw this and approved this." Sham, remember what I also said about bad ideas taking flight? I guarantee, even if there were no black people in the room, there was at least a couple of the white people in the room who knew this was a bad idea, and they let those 5 or 10, 20 seconds expire when they could have killed this idea in its womb. But people were like, "Hey, so I'm just throwing this out there. Let's have a black woman and a white man and a slave master kind of scenario where he's like running off with her, and he's going to free her and marry her." And in those 20 seconds, when somebody would have been like, "That's a terrible idea. That's racist, sexist, anything-ist, that's it."
That person was sitting there at the table with their head down, clicking their pen because they didn't want to speak up.
Correct. That person must have an attendance problem or something, like, "Let me lay low on this week because I'm on the verge of getting fired anyway." So either that or I'm already looking for another job, so I don't really care what happens. Yeah.
But Ancestry.com, they, from what I read earlier in the week, they felt like it was a beautiful love story, and that, love crosses races and socioeconomic levels and all this type of stuff. I'm like, seriously? That's what y'all thought?
Yeah, they gave a statement, to your point. They gave one of those "we missed the mark" statement. I love that phrase, because that's basically saying you guys think this was a terrible idea. We don't. But we're still going to act like we respect your opinion. So what they say is, "We had this intention, but we missed the mark." Yeah, you missed the hell out of it. Like, whatever the mark you were aiming for, you might as well have turned around and shot whatever projectile in the opposite direction. Because, yeah.
Here's the quote right here. "Ancestry is committed to telling important stories from history. This ad was intended to represent one of those stories." What?
I would be interested. Find the story right now and tell me when it happened. Tell me who the people were. Tell me who the people in history were. Give me their names. Give me everything about them right now. If you're not prepared to do that, and even if you were prepared to do that, that would be. So what happens to all the black women who got raped in slavery? Like, are you even going to talk about that or what? If you want to even dip your toe in that pool, be prepared to jump all the way in that water. Or just leave it alone. Yeah, just leave it alone. There's a billion ways you can tell a love story better than that. Matter of fact, didn't they make a movie about interracial marriage in like the 1950s with I forget who, Joel Edgerton, where the interracial marriage was banned in like Virginia or somewhere, and he still married his wife and they went to the Supreme Court? That's a love story. And that's based in history. What they are talking about is a fairy tale that never happened. Black women were raped as slaves. As slave masters, there's zero chance that they were asking their permission to marry them and take them to the North. What they need to do that for?
They didn't need to ask. They can just take them.
They just take them. And what they need to marry them for in the North? When they own a plantation in the South, what, they going to move to the North to be poor with a slave? Get out of here. It makes no sense on no level. So many off ramps they had the opportunity to take. That's all I have to say about that story.
Yeah. That's great. Yeah.
Privilege run a rise this episode, huh? Let's move on.
Let's move on to some more privilege. Speaking of privilege, as we move on to our entertainment section, actually, no, we're going to move on to politics. We're going to switch it up. I believe that you have the Mueller Report wrap up.
Yes. And this is, listen, we run this story into the ground. I think I said everything I needed to say about my opinion of what needs to happen in the last episode, but I owe it to the story's integrity to wrap it up. The Mueller Report was released. It finally, wide release, and as we suspected, heavily redacted to the public earlier this week. There were redactions in it, but there was enough information in it to prove a few things. Number one, the report does not conclude that the president colluded with Russia in a conspiratorial way, in a criminal way.
Well, we knew that.
Said, we all knew that. That's what the report concludes. However, if you read that report in any way, shape, or form, and the report makes it obvious, the president and his team did everything, possible under the sun to obstruct that investigation. And he should be charged with obstruction of justice. They won't do it. But if you read that report with any kind of common sense, clearly he obstructed justice, and his team did as well. Our press secretary, who lies with her every breath, Sarah Huckabee Sanders, admitted in that report that she was lying, and then got caught, kept saying it, and now is still lying about lying. So that's where she's at. Really, again, I stand by what I said last week. Democrats, listen, either get what you need to get out of this report, make your quick point and move on, or leave it alone entirely, because he's not getting charged. As far as he's concerned, he skated on the report. As far as I'm concerned, he skated on it too, because there's no real consequences from it. And all it did was prove what we already know. The president and his team are a team full of liars who obstruct justice. So there's really nothing more I have to say about that. And I already know where you stand. Consequences? No.
Word. Moving on.
All right, moving on. So, speaking of the presidency, we have our polls. There's actually a town hall going on tonight, and I missed it by a hair, so I won't introduce it too much, but someone else put their hat in the ring. So I believe we're up to 19 Democratic candidates, and there's a town hall
Jesus
tonight.
Christ.
Yeah, it's going to be a circus. I think the big story amongst the Democratic Party right now is Buttigieg. And I probably butchered his name right there.
Buttigieg,
correct. I did not say his name in a previous podcast, but he's the mayor of South Bend. He's 37 years old. He is surging in the polls right now. Now, Joe Biden is leading the polls still. Bernie Sanders is still up there, but Buttigieg his surge is legitimate, because Bernie Sanders to some extent and Joe Biden definitely to a major extent, they're already household names and they're already established figures. Joe Biden was vice president. So by definition, under a pretty popular president under Obama. So by definition, as soon as he's even considering running, he's going to be a front runner. Buttigieg came out of really nowhere. He was mayor of South Bend. He's openly gay. That's a challenge. He has embraced that. He has used that as part of his platform to challenge a lot of conservative views. He's challenged Mike Pence directly and openly. A lot of people think hypocritically, because he was kind of at least had a cordial relationship with Pence when Pence was governor of Indiana. But he said, look, I can be cordial with the man, but I disagree with a lot of his beliefs. And he completely disagrees with my lifestyle. So I'm going to use that as part of my platform. A lot of people like his ideas. He's surging in the polls. It will be interesting to see how people, even in the Democratic Party, who claim to be open-minded, will treat a possible gay frontrunner. So we'll see how that rolls, and we'll see how he handles himself in the debate. So that was just interesting to see his surge in the polls recently, as people listen to his platform, and they're kind of not caring that he's openly gay, at least for now. We'll see if that continues.
Well, you know what I like about Pete Buttigieg?
What's that?
He plays the piano and guitar and performed with the South Bend Symphony Orchestra. So, he's always going to have a little small place in my heart because of that. We're musical brethren.
Yeah. Kindred spirit.
We are.
I hear that.
I heard, as a lot of the Democratic nominees have been doing, they've been doing interviews on The Breakfast Club, and Pete Buttigieg was on there last week, and I liked a lot of what he was saying. He seemed like a really really stand up guy. I love the fact that he's openly gay. That's definitely a position. Well, I won't say that. They say historically there have been some presidents who were gay but not openly gay.
Right.
But he's definitely tapping into, I don't want to say a market, but a demographic that needs to be represented. So hopefully there's that, and that he also lives up to some of the politics that he speaks about. So I'm gonna let you go ahead. I don't want to keep going on that.
No. I couldn't have said it better. So we will see how he continues. I believe he may be part of the town hall tonight. I think like maybe 10 of the candidates are involved in it. It's not like a group thing. They're just each having like individual ones or something. I forget exactly what CNN is doing. But as he gets more exposure, we'll see how he goes. Finally, on the political tip, and this kind of goes back to the Mueller report, Elizabeth Warren, who we've talked about and who I kind of soured on with the whole Native American thing. She has been the first candidate to openly call for President Trump's impeachment. Now, other people have implied it. Other people have talked about it. It's not a surprise, and I think we'll hear more of it. She said it in direct response to the report. We'll see how much traction this gets. I'll put it this way, man. We are now, in the middle of 2019. An impeachment at this point would not be concluded until, if an impeachment started tomorrow, between the vote to impeach and then an actual trial and then a Senate vote, that probably wouldn't conclude until like the middle of like 2020. In which case, that's the election. So we passed that Rubicon. There's no way an impeachment will get underway right now. That's what the Democrats need to think about. And if they try to impeach President Trump right now, 45 will basically say, okay, well, you know what? This is their way of undermining the election. And he would use that completely to his advantage. We are past the point of impeachment. You need to focus on beating him in the election, period. Because anything else you do, he will turn around and say, this is a continuation of their efforts to undermine my victory from 2016, which will empower his base and which will make independents think, you know what? They're just sore losers who are trying to undermine this process. So they need to get their act together and get with the program of the election. That's my thought on impeachment. Elizabeth Warren, I like a lot of the stuff you did, especially before you decided to run for president. But on this, in my opinion, you need to sit down and you need to start kind of making up for the fact of this whole Native American fiasco, and you need to get your platform together. That's what you need to do. That's my thought on that. Any thoughts?
You already know.
No. And finally, just a funny note, Veep. So we've been so caught up in Game of Thrones and all that stuff on HBO. Veep, which is a very good show, in my opinion, with Julia Louis-Dreyfus, formerly of Seinfeld fame. And this is kind of just entertainment, but I'm looping it in politics. Has come back on for its final season. Watch Veep, and yeah, it's a satire. Yeah, they do a lot of ridiculous stuff. But especially when they talk about campaigning and things, she's campaigning again to be president, it's not that much far off from real life. Like, if you watch that show and laugh at the antics on that show and laugh at her, like, campaign, I look at this campaign and I look at campaigns in the past, it's not different. And I think anyone who kind of wants to get humor out of politics should watch that show, because I think that show does a very good job of showing just how ridiculous our political process is. From like straw polling to all the stupid stuff you have to do to like connect with voters. It's insane. And so I just wanted to throw that little barb in there, especially as people are watching the presidential process right now.
Cool.
Yeah. All right. Well, politics, hey, it'll keep heating up. We ready to get into some entertainment?
Yeah, the entertainment is a little mild this week because I think we have more sports that we're gonna get into.
We do.
But yeah, so this for me, and we talk behind the scenes about how we will approach talking about Kim K. Yes. But big news on her is that she plans to become a lawyer by 2022. without going to law school. And people are like, wait, how can she do that without going to law school? There are 4 states in our country that allows aspiring lawyers to take the bar exam without going to law school. Instead, they are given the option to apprentice with a practicing attorney or judge. In this case, Van Jones, CNN commentator and a criminal justice advocate, has offered to be her mentor. Yeah. But here's a startling number. So
Van Jones, who I like, by the way, we've mentioned him on the show.
Yeah, he's a very likable guy.
Very respectable brother. Yeah.
Since 1996, 1,142 apprentices have taken the bar exam. Only 305 have passed. Now, I want to give you a little background for those who don't know. Kim Kardashian is one of the daughters of Robert Kardashian, who was a very successful attorney, mostly an entertainment attorney, but was asked to join the O.J. Simpson defense team because he was very good friends with O.J.
And only because of that.
Right. Because like I say, he was an entertainment lawyer. So he didn't really have any criminal defense experience.
Right.
But Kim has said that she always kind of wanted to be like her dad, and her own interest in law grew from her work with Van Jones. And also last year, she had a very highly publicized visit to the Oval Office to speak with Donald Trump to advocate for Alice Marie Johnson, a 60-year-old lady who was sentenced to life in prison for a nonviolent drug offense. And she was ultimately able to have clemency granted for her through our President Trump. So obviously that move alone is a clear indication that she is an advocate for criminal justice reform. And it's not a surprise that she would want to go this route. The big surprise is, though, because she's Kim Kardashian, because of what she's known for, no one really takes her very seriously. She's gotten a lot of backlash from it. I think it's a great idea. I think one thing people don't allow people to do in life is grow. And we all know how she became famous.
Right.
Ray J will never let us forget it.
Right.
But
he's a loser.
If you have all this means to do something, and you have all this cachet, if you can, use your celebrity to have someone get granted clemency, and now you're feeling like you are empowered to study for the bar exam and to take it and become a lawyer and to follow through and continue to do things like this, I am all for it. If this is just another way to get publicity and you're not taking this job seriously, because as you know, I've been working in the law ever since you know me, then I'm not. Now I like Kim K. I think her family is funny. I think they're a hoot, but I'm also not a blind follower of her. I can admit when she does wrong. I admit when she does great things, but this is not something to take lightly. And if she's going for it and succeeds, I'm here for it. If not, kick rocks.
Yeah. So I think I agree with completely everything you said. And the only thing I'll add is this. You are correct. When we discussed this in the background, I've come to a realization. I don't dislike Kim Kardashian. I compare her to LeBron James in the sense that I dislike a lot of the people who like her because of what you just said. She has blind followers. Her family has blind followers. LeBron James has blind followers. People who act like everything they do is perfect and is worthy of praise. That's not the case with anyone on earth, including them. And so it's those people, they kind of come at you a certain way, and you have to catch yourself from not punishing her or her family for the foolishness of those blind followers. And so I've come to that realization. Honestly, if she can accomplish this, good for her. To your point, I hope she doesn't squander this if she does accomplish this, because, I mean, you just said roughly 30% of the people succeed in this. So this is not easy for her, what she's trying to do. If she does do it, I give her full credit because she doesn't have to do it. And it could be inspiring to people. To your point, you were talking about the fact that she has the cachet to do this. Well, I think someone who doesn't have the cachet to do something like this, but to your point, can look at her and say, well, she didn't really have to do this, but she wanted to grow herself. She could just sit back on her money and not do anything. But someone who doesn't have resources, who wants to grow themselves, she could be an inspiration to tell them, like, you don't have any excuse, because she had every excuse not to even care about doing this and chose to grow herself. You have very little resources, person, and you have every reason to try to grow yourself, and you letting excuses stop you from doing it. I think that will be an inspiration to people. To your point, she needs to make sure that she follows through on it and continues to do the good work that she has done. And that was good work when she got that clemency. So I don't want to talk to her blind followers about it, because they're going to be like, see, this is kind of stuff that, you guys don't care about, and she's like perfect. No, okay. But she's growing, and she's trying to grow herself, and I have to give her full credit for that. I will never watch that show. I hate to say never. If they do something like crazy interesting, I might, you would have to tell me about it, and maybe
it's not for you. It's not for you.
But so I'm just, I'm just not for it. But hey, this is outside of the show, though. This is life, and she's trying to accomplish something. Now they'll probably put it in the show, but who cares about that?
Oh, they have. I was watching an episode. They put everything in the show. Nothing is off limits with that show. Those cameras follow them 365.
Right.
But I did learn. Keeping up with them, exactly. They even have a class at Cornell University.
We talked about that.
But I will say this: they did reveal that she has already been at this for a year. She's already a year into her apprenticeship. She's been doing this behind closed doors, and she didn't mention it until.
That's awesome.
Yeah, so she's already been taking like practice tests. She knows which areas she's good at and what she's not. She says criminal law comes to her a lot more easily than tort, which is crimes against the person, not society. For those that don't know, so she's like
lawsuits and stuff, and
civil litigation, torture, civil. Exactly. Yeah. And then criminal is obviously criminal.
Yeah.
But I mean, I think that's great. She already has a feel for what her strengths are and everything like that. And when I was in school, it was the opposite. Criminal law, nothing. I wasn't into it. Like it just wasn't. It didn't come natural to me. Contracts, transactions, how to make these deals, that was natural to me.
Right.
So I understand, but like I said, like this is huge. This is a big deal. I hope that all of the work that she's putting into it, we can see it. She can see it through to fruition, and she continues to do the good work for criminal justice reform.
Nice. Yeah. So kudos to her.
Well, let's talk about something else. It's going to be 7 days for me. I don't know when you're going to see it, but the Avengers is coming out on Friday. Avengers Endgame.
Yeah, I mean, I think technically Thursday night.
Yeah. Thursday night.
So I'm revealing this to you and our listeners. I bought tickets for Saturday, like late, and it was with the thought that you and I will be able to do the podcast at some point, hopefully either Friday night or Saturday. And I bought tickets for like a midnight show on Saturday, meaning the midnight of between Saturday night and Sunday morning.
So you mean 12 a.m. Sunday?
Correct. And which means I will be leaving that theater, if the report of the length is true, sometime after 3 a.m. on Sunday.
I don't know why you would do that to yourself.
I don't know either. I might move. Look, I got it through Fandango. I can move that ticket around whenever I want.
That is a 10 a.m. type of deal, like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock type of deal. You go see that at night, you're not coming out awake. I'm telling you.
I mean, but see, Sham, here's my problem. If it's the 3 hours that they say it is, I should come out awake, because I'm enthralled the entire 3 hours. I shouldn't have to go see it at 10. Now, granted, okay, 12 is a little bit of a push, but the point being, you made it 3 hours, and you're telling us that it's a worthy 3 hours. If my attention is not captivated, we got a problem. It should not be 3 hours. Correct?
I mean, that's correct. But for me, captivated or not, if it's a certain time of night, I'm just not going to make it. I fell asleep during the first Spider-Man, and that movie was pretty awesome. So look,
all the good, really good movies like Dark Knight, I saw like a midnight show or close to it. Like I saw like the premiere, and I walked out of there maybe 1:30, whatever, and I was good. So we'll see. I may end up moving it, but I'm excited. I think this is the culmination of a lot of good stuff. Marvel's done a very good job. Even though I'm a DC guy, there's no denying it. Marvel's been on top of their business in terms of making movies, good movies, quality movies, and they do justice to their characters in their movies, unlike DC. DC still has not figured it out.
Not with the movies, but the TV shows, they do a good job. Oh, yeah.
Honestly, if I was writing a TV show for DC Comics, I'd be like, why am I not getting movie money? Y'all don't know what y'all are doing. Y'all are hiring all these Fugazi directors. The problem with DC is they allow directors to come in and be like, we don't care about the source material. This is our vision. And that's the dumbest thing you could do with comic books.
Yeah, they're all about optics and not foundation.
Right. And I've heard these directors, the Zack Snyders of the world, and other directors, they'll be like, yeah, I read this source material, but I'm going to do a different take on the character. No, there's a reason the character has been around for 80 years. The people like the take on the character in the comic book. The comic book gives you the source material. All you have to do is convert it to film. Talk to the people from Game of Thrones, and they'll tell you, hey, man, listen, our first 4 seasons or 5 seasons, all we did was lift from the book. I mean, we created a little bit of stuff, but why make the job harder than it needs to be? People like the books, so they're going to like the show. We'll just stick with the format. And Marvel has done that. They've done a very good job with that. So kudos to them. So we'll see.
I'm not going to see it that late. I don't want to see anything that late. As a matter of fact, why am I even up? So I'm going to go see it on Monday night. I got my ticket on Fandango as well. I'm going to see it at the Cine Bistro, where they will serve me a delicious New York strip and a Cabernet to sip on while I watch the Avengers Endgame.
Nice. So stay off social media for the whole weekend.
I'm good. I've been watching clips and like I was on YouTube last night. Actually, I watched Thor Ragnarok, and then I watched Infinity War like back to back again yesterday. Then I was last night I was on YouTube watching all types of like bootleg spoilers and clips, and I don't care. I'm just excited about it.
You're very excited.
I am excited. You know what? It's the end, and that's what kind of like gets me hype. It's like I want to see how it ends, but then I'm also kind of sad that it's ending.
Yeah.
Because it's been like 12 years of movies. There are predictions about who's going to live and who's going to die. Like, Iron Man's not going to die. Oh, Thor's going to die. Oh, Captain America's going to die. Like, there's all these like theories that I was like kind of getting into watching these YouTube clips. I was watching interviews from the cast members on various late night shows. So I've gotten into it. I'm excited about seeing it on Monday night.
Yeah, so, I mean, I'll put it this way: they've done a good job of building up the hype. So stay off social media for a little while in terms of spoilers. But I mean, there's a difference between watching the spoilers you're watching and
actual spoilers.
Correct.
People who have seen it Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday talking about, oh my God, I can't believe Thor died.
If Game of Thrones is any indication, and it's been on for 2 weeks now, people just cannot keep their mouth shut on social media.
What's funny is like, I'll post things about it, but it'll be very cryptic. But even still, like, I haven't seen any real spoilers about that, except that I learned that a certain character had matured. Before I was able to see it.
And I won't go there, but I will say this, because I've been screaming it on social media, and you know what? This is one of the joys of having a podcast. So I'm gonna scream about this on my podcast right now. The Northerners in Westeros are racist as hell, and they need to leave my girl alone. This is not a spoiler at all. My beautiful, beautiful girl Masende is getting just grilled on by, as Lord Tywin would say, these unwashed Northerners. Okay, are grilling on the most beautiful girl in Planetos. Got little kids running away from her as if she's like a demon or something, just because she's black. We should have talked about this in the first segment because it was entitlement. She's coming up there to help them out, and they are grilling her on some racism. They better get out my face. I hope the Night King comes and washes all of them. And Grey Worm takes Masinde. He's basically like, yo, let's go back to Africa.
Yeah, let's go right now.
Yeah, let's go back to Africa. All right, that's my Game of Thrones update. But Avengers were hype about that. Sham, I apologize. I did not give you a heads up. You ready for Aunt Becky update real quick? This is real quick. Aunt Becky. This is the gift that keeps on giving. 2 quick updates about Aunt Becky. Number 1, her husband. Come to find out, her husband, he didn't go to USC either. He says he went to USC at first, but then they did some digging. Yeah, you know why he doesn't have a problem with this, and why he doesn't have a problem with his daughter? Because when he was college age, he enrolled into sort of a satellite program at USC for fashion. Lied to his parents and told them that he was enrolled in the university. His parents had money. He basically forged documents. So he went to California, forged documents, pretended like he got into the school. I don't know how he convinced them he got in the first place. Created like an invoice and sent them invoices for his tuition. And they sent checks and he cashed those checks. And that's how he started his fashion business. Yeah, wrap your head around that story.
Oh, so he used to be here before.
He used his parents' money that they were sending because they thought that they were paying tuition for him to go into USC to start his fashion business as seed money. Thousands of dollars. Basically, it added up to back then, because it was like, this is the 70s, 60s, 70s. Hundreds of thousands of dollars, probably 6 figures total to start his fashion business, and now he's a millionaire or whatever. So to him, that was college. He actually lived in a fraternity house. He had friends in a fraternity house, even though he didn't go to the school, and took his parents' money and started that business. So to him, faking to get his daughter into college is continuing his family tradition. So yeah, he don't have a problem with that. That's update number 1. Update number 2, real quick, for Aunt Becky. Apparently, Aunt Becky's having second thoughts about how hard she's been trying to act about this.
I guess so. Now that her daughters are being investigated too.
Her daughters are being investigated, so now they've opened it up. So both of them are fake. I don't know if I updated that because I kind of couched it on the oldest one, and we were focusing on the social media one. The oldest one, wisely, has been keeping a low profile. She was never really on social media in the first place. The youngest one, she's the social media one. She's just out of control. They both are now being investigated. And Becky is distraught about that. And she also is having second thoughts because apparently it was her husband who talked her into rejecting the plea deal.
Of course it was.
And now all her friends are coming to her like, yo, what are you doing? You will go to jail.
I don't know why she ever thought she wasn't.
Right. You are tripping right now. And
she lives in the island of make-believe.
Exactly. And now they got a target on you. So now the story is literally her and her husband are arguing about this like loudly all the time. Because he's still trying to have her fight it. And now she's getting scared. And she's basically like, why'd you tell me this? They're about to throw a book at me. And we both about to be splitting rocks like in San Quentin for years behind this if I don't get behind this plea deal. All right. Because they are not playing with me right now. So she is telling him to stop playing. And Becky, thank you for wising it up. Stop introducing yourself to the prosecutor and sign them damn papers so you and your daughters can move on with your lives. And yeah, you're going to have to go to Club Fed for maybe a year or two, but then you can come out and make some Hallmark movies. Martha Stewart went to jail and she still has a show. Get over it.
She got several shows. She working hard, making money with Sloop.
Exactly. So that was my Aunt Becky update. All right, you ready to talk? Oh, go ahead.
The other thing about that, I want to just make a comment. When I read about the 2 girls being investigated, I thought, well, as they should be.
Absolutely.
And one of my coworkers was like, well, I don't understand because the parents were the ones behind it. First of all, stop it.
I said the same thing, by the way.
You did say the same thing, but think about it.
And then I should have, yeah. They're grown women.
They're grown women, and they accepted scholarships that they knew that they did not earn. They knew they were not on those sports teams, and they took money away from other people. So you mean to tell me they don't have to take any responsibility for being recipients, of what their parents did? You knew you let people put your face on the athletic websites as if you were a player on these teams that you haven't even played this sport a day in your life. Of course you should be investigated, and you should have to face some time as well.
And I'm thinking back, and I'm sure you're thinking back, and anybody who's, gone, especially like a 4-year institution, like, you know how hard, especially at that age, it was to apply to college and like write those essays.
I hated every minute of it.
I hated it, but I put my heart and soul into those essays because I was like, yo, I'm really trying to get in.
Yeah, like, it was a level of stress. It was like the last part of your application that you would even do, because you would just stress out about, what am I going to say? What am I going to write? Are they going to even like all of that?
And if you're trying to go to a good school, you're like, yo, like there are literally thousands, tens of thousands of people applying to this school. Like, how can I make sure my application doesn't just get thrown in a pile? You know what I'm saying? And you like stressing, like you said, you stress over your scores, all this stuff that these people bought and took for granted. Yeah, you're stressing over it. You know the difference between right and wrong. And if I was that age and I found out that somebody my age basically was gaming the system and faking it, like I would want to fight that person at that age. You know what I mean? So yeah, no, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. So yeah, the oldest daughter again has some temerity. It's the youngest one. I mean, she didn't even care about going to school. So she was like, look, whatever, I don't care.
She probably still on that damn yacht. Yeah, but anyway.
All right. So you ready to talk about some sports or what? Let's go.
Yeah.
We got a lot of good. This is there are a couple of months in the year in which sports kind of, they're like a kind of convergence of sports at the same time. October is one of those times because football's in full swing, basketball is just starting, baseball's in the World Series, and hockey is basically just starting. October is a good month. April is a good month as well because baseball is just starting. The tournament, the NCAA tournament, is either like just coming to an end. Basketball is getting into the playoffs. Football, and we'll talk about that. It's the off season, but a lot of big stuff happens there. And hockey is also basically in the playoffs. So this is a good month for sport.
Well, it's not a good month for Sylvia Hatchell.
Yikes. Yeah, I'll let you jump all over that one.
Sylvia Hatchell is the now former head coach of the University of North Carolina Tar Heel women's basketball team, was the coach since 1986. And brought the Lady Tar Heels to prominence in the 90s and 2000s. They only won one championship, and I'll never forget where I was when I saw Charlotte Smith hit that shot. I was at my grandparents' house in my uncle's room watching the TV. Marion Jones was the freshman point guard on that team. Charlotte Smith was a senior. And they beat Louisiana Tech, who had also been like a national powerhouse and won a couple championships. And I'll never forget the after she made that shot and they won that game, how they all ran over to Sylvia Hatchell and they were all just like hugging her and they revered her. And it was just like, finally she got her championship. And that school, she's produced some great players in her tenure at that school. Most of them African American.
Yeah.
So what would make her use the phrase that she recently used, that bad losses could lead to nooses?
Yeah.
Nooses.
See, remember when we were talking about, what's the brother's name on CNN and the river to the sea?
Yes. Shoot.
Not Bakari Sellers. I'm tripping.
He's that. Crap. The professor at Penn.
Yes. And if neither one of us were trying to think of it, we would be thinking of it. But anyway, the point being, while we probably both look it up, but you got to know what you're saying when you say stuff like that. And she's been in the game too long. now, I'm sorry, am I jumping out there or?
Nah, Mark Lamont Hill, by the way.
Mark Lamont Hill, thank you. Yeah, you when you're in the game that long, you got to know, and it sounds silly when you're like, man, she put in all this work, she did all these good things, she has all this history, all this prominent history, but I mean, you got to know better, right?
You got to be better, because at that point you already know better. You just got to be better. You can't tell me that in 67 years of life you didn't know that was a bad thing to say. She obviously knew, but I feel like sometimes people get so comfortable in their element that they feel like that they are just like they in Wakanda, like they got that shield around them, that vibranium to protect them. Nah, like you can't say stuff like that.
They were the one white guy besides Bucky in Wakanda in Black Panther.
Right.
Oh, man. Don't get me started on Black Panther. Keep going. I'm sorry.
But yeah, it's like, I think sometimes your comfortability level is so high that you just reckless with what you say. That's why I said it ain't about knowing better. It's about being better. You knew that was a racially insensitive thing to say. And the parents of the players were adamant. They were like, y'all got to get rid of this woman. Like, the athletic director was like overwhelmed with complaints from the players. And so finally she stepped down. But I'm like, so you just tarnished a 33-year legacy over saying something so stupid.
Do you believe she should have been fired?
Yeah, I do. But she probably was going to step down anyway because she was diagnosed with leukemia.
Oh, wow. All right.
But
that actually makes it worse because she could have stepped down under, I mean, it's terrible that she has the disease, but you can kind of sum up her career, make a good thing out of it, say, hey, look, she's stepping down after this illustrious career to battle this illness. And now the inspirational story of her trying to battle it after this great career has been tarnished by this horrible mistake she's made. Or decision, really, not a mistake. See, yeah, mistake kind of implies like sort of
it implies ignorance too.
Yeah. Nah, she knew this was a decision she made to say that.
Yeah.
And to your point, know better and be better. You have to. You can't. I mean, I don't know. Maybe I was a little soft in even asking that. Did she deserve to get fired? Sometimes, I don't know. I've been struggling with sometimes, like, do you teach someone a lesson and then keep them around so that they can use their platform to teach lessons and say, look, we don't care how tenured you are, but we want you to stay in here and put in this work to educate people on how ignorant that was for you to do. But then, I don't know. Yeah, you just have to make the decision and say, look, we don't care how tenured you are. We're going to teach the lesson by letting you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a liability too, because like I said earlier, most of her players over the years have been African American, and that's a recruiting issue as well. Like, how many kids will want to come to your program when you have a coach there that's saying stuff like that, whether it be white or black, to be honest? I just don't see a lot of parents being comfortable with sending their child there when you have a coach that's being that reckless. But anyway, on to happier things, more upbeat things. The NBA playoffs are in full swing, and I have to give you credit before you start getting into your mumbo jumbo about whatever. You said this on the last episode. You said that Damian Lillard was going to have to win at least 2 games of that series for anybody to start taking him seriously. And I agree with you, but you called it. They are now up. The Portland Trailblazers are now up 3-1 on Oklahoma City.
Well, Sham,
I think Damian Lillard listens to this podcast.
I was about to say, you're being very nice to me because I think I said it in such a way in which I almost like challenged him.
Yeah.
And I almost said it as if I didn't believe he would do it. So I'm going to be a little bit humble on this, and I appreciate you saying that. let's just go out and say it. Dame Lillard shut me the hell up.
Didn't he though?
He shut me up. And listen, I think we both going on record, and I've really caped. So anytime I cape for somebody, I've caped for Russ.
Oh, I love Russ. We love Russ.
And we both love Russ. Yeah, well, this is one of those types of situations, and Russ has done this a few times. Russ sometimes makes it hard to defend him. And I'm going to just say, Russ is acting like a complete jackass in this series. And I get it, competitiveness and fiery. Dame Lillard looks like an adult looking at a child like, dude, I'm way more mature than you. What are you doing?
Mm-hmm.
My problem with Russ and Dennis Schroeder, why don't you, first of all, take that blonde streak out your hair that you think looks cool when it does not. I'm all for expression. You look like a jerk. You're coming off the bench, Dennis Schroeder. I'm going to get to Russ in a second. You're coming off the bench. You're the sixth man. You're going to start taunting Damian Lillard? Y'all won game 3. You've already been down 2-0. So even by winning that game, you're still down 2-1, and you're going to taunt Dame Lillard and tap your wrist to taunt his Dame time thing? You're still down in the series. Dame Lillard did exactly what a leader is supposed to do. He got his team together and told them, do not get caught up in emotions with Oklahoma City. And they came out and throttled them last night and took that 3-1 lead. Dame Lillard, listen, man, I challenge you. You answered the challenge. You got tired of getting swept in the first round, like I said, and you got tired of getting gentlemen. And I was challenging you and do X, Y, Z to get taken seriously. Yeah, I'm taking you seriously now. I'm definitely taking you seriously now. And I respect what he said, because he said that. He said, listen, we've been getting swept and we've been getting gentlemen swept for 2 or 3 years. And we can't expect people to take us seriously until we start winning the playoffs. And he did it. So good for him. Good for CJ McCollum. Good for that team. Good for that team.
So did you hear what Shannon Sharp had to say about Russell Westbrook?
I did not. What did he say?
So my friend literally sent this to me before we started recording the podcast. It was like he kind of like just knew that we were going to talk about this. Mm-hmm. So this is going to be like I'm a paraphrase what he said. He basically compared Russell Westbrook to a really pretty girl that you make excuses for. She can be a bitch to you. She can be nasty. Wow. She has a horrible attitude, but you make excuses for her because she's very pretty.
Wow.
And he also compared him to, he said he watched the game and he saw how Dame just, anytime he made a shot, he went right back into the defense mode. He rallied the team around him, never got caught up in the one-on-one. He said every time Russell Westbrook got the better of Damian Lillard, it was like he was celebrating. He compared him to a wide receiver that had, or a cornerback. A cornerback that had given up 2 touchdowns, and then when he finally got an interception, decided to celebrate. No, you've already given up 2 touchdowns. And he also, he basically said, look, Russell Westbrook's legacy is going to be that of someone who gets swept out of who doesn't get past the first round. Somebody who's not a winner, somebody who can dazzle you with triple doubles, who is going to be the best player on his team, but his legacy is not going to be one of which where you think back and think, oh, he's a winner. And basically Chris Bouchard came behind him and was like, that's okay. Because there's other players in history like that. Pistol Pete, Allen Iverson, people who...
Allen Iverson didn't win it all, but
he got to the finals, but he will not be known as a winner. Because he was a very one-on-one type, I'm the team, everybody else follow me type player.
That's true.
And I gotta say, I don't always agree with Shannon Sharp, but that was a great analogy to sum up who Russell Westbrook is.
I love the cornerback analogy. I would even take it less than an interception. The thing that irritates me about a lot of the corners these days, and I mean, corners been doing this forever. I would take that analogy and say what he was doing reminded me of a corner who was giving up all kinds of, like the scenario you just said, all kinds of touchdowns and yards. and then when there's an incompletion, forget interception. When there's an incompletion, they do the incompletion sign like all over the place as if they had something
like
to do
they've
with
been
it.
shutting them down all game long. Like you ain't
Yeah.
doing
And a lot of times, if it's like a big overthrow and they had nothing to do with like the incompletion whatsoever, except they just happen to be around, they'll do a big incompletion sound like they did it. Like they can have an inaccurate quarterback who just threw the ball like basically out of bounds. And if you looked at the corner, you would think he jumped up there and like swatted it. That's the kind of stuff Russell Westbrook was doing. And I love Russ, man, but he has to have more self-awareness than that. Like, you look dumb right now, man. You look dumb right now. You look like a front runner. Everything that I hate about like Golden State and stuff, that's what you're doing right now. And that's why you're down 3-1. And then I love what you just said. And then I'll kind of end my Russ stuff. Everything you just said about Russ is, in terms of not being a winner, is what was being said, including by people like me, about Dame Lillard.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's very interesting and intriguing that Dame Lillard is using this series, and this series may end up being the turning point of the perception of him.
It's his coming out party.
Yeah. And Russ, it may end up being the turning point. I mean, a lot of people were already at this point with Russ, but a lot of people who defended him, like me, I mean, this is going to be bad because this is going to be now the third year in a row. And in this series, he's been even more like out there than everything else. I did not know that beef cooked with him and Dame Lillard this hard. He's been talking trash to Dame Lillard for years, apparently, about how he's better than him, how he's thrashing him and this and that. Well, you know what? Yeah, you better win at least another game or two, because if he gentlemans you out of this, yeah, that's going to look real bad on your record, Slim, or your jacket. Absolutely. Some of these other series, though, let's see. A lot of these series are getting wrapped up. There have been a couple of broom jobs out here, Sam.
Yeah. Detroit got swept.
Yep.
The Celtics swept the Pacers, which we knew that might happen.
Yeah, without Oladipo.
They had no soul. They had no soul.
Props to Victor Oladipo. In his absence, I think his profile rose tremendously because a lot more people paid attention to him this year. And without him, I think with him, that would have been a very good series.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
At least a little more competitive. I don't know. Yep. They might have gotten 1, but I don't think it would have gone to 7.
The Bucks literally just wrapped things up like maybe 15 minutes ago. Mm-hmm. So they're going to advance. Greek Freak had 41.
I thought for a while Detroit was going to try to stay in it, but then he just kind of went off in the 4th.
Yeah. Dwayne Casey had Detroit playing as well as he possibly could. They're just outmatched. I mean, that's a 1-8 outmatch. So that's the East. And then in the West, we already talked about OKC and Portland. There was a little bit of intrigue, I guess, in Golden State Clippers. That huge comeback in Game 2 by the Clippers. But Golden State has put their foot down on that series. So I think they're up 3-1. They'll probably wrap that up tomorrow.
They're also up 3-1.
Yeah.
Houston and Utah are playing right now. Houston is up 3-0 on that one.
The only thing to talk about there, did you see that ridiculous block from James Harden?
The block or that ridiculous shimmy?
No. Flop. F-L-O-P.
No, I didn't see the flop, but I saw that dumb shimmy.
So he's a jackass for doing this shimmy on Ricky Rubio, who apparently people just want to flex on all the time. Like, Ricky Rubio should be below his station. Why are you even caring about flexing on him? But whatever. No, Shan, what I'm talking about, and when you see it, you'll know exactly what I mean. He did a flop in Game 2. I mean, if he wasn't James Harden, I want to throw him out of the league for that. Basically, he was guarding. He was on defense. He was guarding somebody. I forget the dude who he was guarding. The dude runs past him, and he doesn't even throw an elbow out. He kind of like puts his arm out, kind of just to get past him. Shan, James Harden was not touched, and people have been comparing it. They said it was as if Darth Vader had force choked him.
Oh, come on.
because he immediately grabs his throat and then jumps backwards and flops and falls to the ground. People have slow-moed it. Champ is one of the most disgraceful flops I've ever seen. If it and everybody's been killing him over on Twitter and all that. The second you'll see it, you'll be like, yeah, okay, this is what he's talking about. He should, at minimum, get fined a hefty amount. And if it was during the regular season, I would say suspend him a game. That kind of fly. See, James Harden, man, he's talented. He deserved to win the MVP. But it's that kind of stuff that destroys the NBA, man. I can't stand it. It's a disgrace. He would get thrown out of like a low-rent play for what he did for that.
What's even worse about how disgraceful it is, it makes it more disgraceful because everybody knows he does it and they do nothing about it.
I completely agree.
But yeah, I'll check out the video. I really never have many nice things to say about James Harden.
Nah.
Except for OKC blew it when they could have just paid him the $4 million instead of trading him away.
Yeah. Quick thing about NBA, then we'll wrap that up. Lakers don't have a coach yet. I heard Tyronn Lue. I heard somebody else, but Tyronn Lue. People have been warning Tyronn Lue not to take that job. Good for them. Good for him.
We've been there, done that. We rode the ride. It wasn't that fun. Next.
Nope. So big NFL stuff coming up. The draft. The same night as Avengers coming out. That's a big risk. But whatever.
NFL they always have it on that Thursday. They have that scheduled and planned for years.
Yeah, since it's been maybe the last 4 years now. Yeah. They started on Thursday.
They know this year where they're gonna have it next year. So
yeah, it's in Nashville this year. That's gonna be fun. If I had to extra time, I would love to do that. I'm glad they started moving it out of New York and kind of experimenting with the place.
Yeah, I think Nashville's gonna be New York doesn't really deserve it. Their teams are trash.
Okay. Well, anyway, I have to inject something personal about the draft. My Raiders have been in the news. Listen, no rants this year, guys, until they start losing games. But apparently, Mike Mayock and John Gruden have taken all the scouts and not only ejected them from the war room, but literally sent them home with pay because they were paranoid that the scouts would start leaking their intentions to the media. So everyone's thinking that the Raiders are like the Nixon White House, where they're trying to punish people for leaking. I actually applaud this move. If you got people leaking stories, you know what? You need to find the leakers, get them out of there, and don't let them compromise the draft. So people trying to make it seem like we're a clown organization right now. We're a gangster organization. Don't leak our stories. That's what I'm about to say. I support this move.
Gangster clowns. So look.
That was love.
So the schedules got released.
I'm hype.
Yeah, I'm not so hyped because when I look at the Eagles schedule, breaking news, Sham is an Eagles fan. I always look for places on the away games on the schedule for cities that I would like to visit.
Yep.
And this year it's like wah, like away at Dolphins, away at Green Bay, away at Minnesota, away at the usual NFC East suspects.
Yeah.
And I was like, that's it?
I mean, you go to Miami?
Yeah, that's a possibility. But I've always said, and I didn't look at the dates. I only know the away games. But I've always said I wanted to go to Lambeau. So
you can have that.
If the weather is kind, I might have to holler at that Green Bay game.
The only thing with our schedule, you can have that. You let me know how that is. That is historical. That's a piece of history, and every football fan would appreciate it. Yeah, you holler at me about that. So we have a game in London. It's in October. Now, a couple factors go into that. If my team is bad by that point, forget it. I might try to swing it, though, if we're all right. It'll be a good excuse to go to London. We have 7 weeks in between 2 home games. So there's a very good possibility that my team might be in the middle of a losing streak.
Oh, you know who else got shafted with that? Tampa Bay.
That's right. We both got boned. And and anonymous exec who's part of the scheduling committee came out and admitted that they boned us with the schedule. Yeah, so that's the kind of conspiracy that's going against my Raiders this year. Guys,
and
as you can see,
the Bucks. It's not just you.
I mean, whatever.
Don't make it about the Raiders.
For the sake of this podcast, Crab Legs can go like screw himself. For the sake of this podcast, it's conspiracy against us. Guys, as you've seen, you're now going to get Happy Rashaka. He is fully for the Raiders until they start losing games. Then Kirk Fox will come back out.
I guess I am going to Miami.
Because I like what we're doing. But anyway.
Either that or Minnesota. I don't know.
Right, look at you. But I'm good, man. I'm good. Feeling good in my 30s.
Well, you should. 30s is still young.
Yes.
Holla at me in about 30 years.
I mean, or 10 podcasts when we're in our 40s. I think a lot of people dread turning 30. I love our 30th birthday on the podcast in weeks.
Yeah. Dirty 30.
Yeah. Yes. We have listeners all over the world by the time we're 30. By the time we're 40, we'll have listeners all over the solar system.
Oh,
That's
God.
where I'm at. That's where I'm at.
We're going to have listeners on Vormir.
That's right. You can catch us on all the stuff Sham about to say. On the moon and beyond. Let's go.
Well, right now we're on every podcast platform that you can think of. Known to man at this point. I need to check the update on iHeart, but we're on the usual suspects. So just, make sure you do that search for the Stop Playing podcast on wherever you listen to your podcast.
That's what I was about to say. You know how we can keep it simple, guys? Literally, whatever search engine you put in, if you put in the Stop Playing podcast and put it in grammatically correct, it'll pull up our episodes and you could just get going on whatever platform pleases you.
So again, we would like to thank our listeners and shout out to the listeners in Mountain View, California.
Hey, Silicon Valley, holla at
Silicon Valley is liking the podcast, so we appreciate you. And like I said earlier, Ukraine, we had a bunch of listeners in Lithuania. We are worldwide. Lithuania was in the house. Me encanta mis latinos amigos. Sí, gracias. We are all over Latin America, so we're just enjoying what we're doing, and we're glad that you enjoy us. So keep on listening and tell your friends.
And listen, we love our listeners from everywhere. But Silicon Valley, listen, if y'all just casually listening, great. If you're working for somebody, go ahead and hit us up. Don't be shy. Don't be shy. Matter of fact, all of you fans, don't be shy at all. Hit us up. Well, you never know. You never know. We might have them on the show, huh, Shan?
Sure. We're happy to have anybody who has something valuable to say. Because I will carry you if you don't.
We're getting saucy in our 30s. Let's go.
We're grown-ups now.
Outlines and pre-production meetings, baby. Yeah.
But anyway, as always, thanks for listening to the Stop Playing podcast. You can hit us up on Twitter at stop_playing pod. You can reach us on our Facebook page, facebook.com/Stop Playing Podcast. Email us at stopplayingpodcast@gmail.com. Any way that you can think to reach out to us, you can do it. So again, thanks everybody for listening. As I always say, keep your chips on the plate. No double dipping.
Yes, ma'am. Don't double dipping.
Stop playing. 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 Playing.